response to what had happened in the raid during the terrorist attack that had happened in a synagogue and also towards Russian Christian Orthodox churches that were also affected. And the FSB, which is the Federal Bureau of Russia, investigated Khabib and his team. As a result, Khabib had decided to go and flee Russia. Now, there's something that's really serious about this, right? And not only that, really the consequences that are going to come out of this, I think, is going to be very bad for Khabib, in particular his family, because we know that he was able to escape. But what about the rest of his family? And how is he going to, let's say, talk about this in a way that can be spinned towards the Russians? In other words, would he just say to them that maybe I left because I felt that there was a safety issue due to the terrorist attack, which in that turn would honestly be very reasonable? Or could it be one of those situations where he could get tried for treason? And we don't know what each country does when they charge somebody with treason. It all varies. But I think what's going to happen with Khabib is he now has to look for places to exile. There's going to be a couple of options. America is one example. For one, why? America is obviously at war with Russia. In the same reverse sense where you have Edward Snowden, who is harbored by the Russians due to his infractions with the U.S. government, whistleblowing, and as a result, Talavera Jr. says KFC versus Popeyes versus Churches versus Jollibees. What exactly do you mean by that comment? Please elaborate more on that comment if you can. But as I was saying, several reasons why America would be one of the choices. The other choice is a UAE, I believe. They are fried chicken restaurants. Oh, so you're asking which one I like out of all of them. Jollibees is something that is very niche in this part of the United States. I don't know if they have it in the East Coast or if they have it anywhere else, but they definitely have it out here west, Bay Area and Los Angeles and whatnot. I've tried all of them, obviously. Who hasn't at this point, right? Church's Chicken. I've had one of those. Jollibees, Popeyes. I'm going to say Popeyes would probably top that list, but that is my own subjective opinion, Talavera Jr. But moving on, why else would the United States be a reason for Khabib to exile in? The United States right now is in conflict with Russia. Right now, they don't have an extradition treaty, and as a result, Khabib can absolutely be harbored. And guess what? He talked to Donald Trump. I don't know if that had something to do with it, but you would imagine that if Donald Trump was to get into office at a time where, let's say, Khabib exiled into the UAE or Abu Dhabi or something like that, only then you can realize that, you know what? Maybe Donald Trump can do something in terms of power and influence in order to get him here. But that's a stretch because obviously Donald Trump still has to win. On top of that, he has to get into office. You also have to take into consideration the timeline of when the U.S. election is going to be, as opposed to Khabib now in extradition. He now has to look for a country that will be willing to take him in as a refugee, as a war refugee, or as an asylum seeker. Because this definitely qualifies in terms of being an asylum seeker. A European governor said that we had an estimated 3 months till World War III. Where do you think that's true? Dave do I think that it's true that it's World War III? No, I don't think. The reason why I don't think it's possible is because I think that we are in a generation right now where I think it's very unusual to have a full-scale war. I think what the type of warfare that is going on right now is more of small, non-conventional forces, special forces, small teams, and things of that nature. I don't think they're willing to fight at a much bigger scale using big infantries and whatnot. So I see the chat going on right now. So Dave Capillo asks, where are you from? I am from Sacramento, California right now. And so also on the chat, it says here, I think it was a Serbian governor or Hungarian. Okay, so you brought up some good points there. Well, not points, but rather some good countries there that Khabib could possibly go to, because a lot of these former Soviet states, by the way, are not all that affiliated with Russia, right? Or nor that they have any authority over them. Shout out to Sacramento. Shout out to where you're from, Dave. Let me know where you're from. Type on the comments, everybody, where you guys are from as we continue on with this live story going on right now with Khabib as it develops in this particular time. So Khabib leads Russia. Let's take a look at what we get out of this. So he fled Russia and is currently wanted by the government. The former UFC champion also spoke out against nightclubs and risque plays in Dagestan, which resulted in some of his followers issuing death threats to various actors and rappers performing at these events. Okay. Leaves Russia after. Yeah, so I know Jesse on Fire did, what is this? The US and Germany also have reinstalled the draft. Greetings from Germany. Okay, that's what's up. Thank you for those that are tapping in to Germany, that are watching me right now and following this story with me live. The Russian government raided the gym and froze his bank accounts. Yes, okay, so that is exactly what had happened. His
to a tragic death like
I hope
that.
World War III doesn't kick off anytime soon, but it seems to be heating up.
I was really close with him, and he was like
I tell you what, if World War III is kicking off in some kind of way, I gotta be honest with you, this could actually be good for Khabib, because at least there will be parties out there that will harbor him. And this is one of the reasons why I say that the United States could be one of those places, maybe out here in Northern California. I mean, he trains out here, right? So why would it not be a possibility that Khabib would come and train out here in California as a result of that, but also live here with all of these going on right now?
Good friend of mine. That's all I would keep hammering, is I would be like, to try to even imagine how proud he must have been to be your father, and such
So what Jesse on Fire is talking about right now is when Khabib had met Vladimir Putin back in 2018, post Conor McGregor, during that big fight in which the whole world was watching, right? So just within less than 24 hours, Khabib touches down in Russia. Within 12 hours, because he didn't want to stay in Vegas, he jumped straight into the plane and went back home to Russia. So now the tables have turned. He's no longer one of Vladimir Putin's favorite guys. And quite frankly, if Vladimir Putin wanted to, he could stop all of this, right? But he chooses not to. I can't believe that we're seeing the day where Khabib is actually criminalized by the Russians. There was a terrorist attack in Machkala. Yes, Dave, I did a story on that. And Dagestan's weird lot of casualties. Oh, hold on. What did he say here? He said, where lots of casualties and a few of the terrorists have boundaries to his gym. I think what Dave is trying to say is that they had access to his gym and things of that nature. Okay, yes, that's very true. By the way, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe as we give full coverage of this. And shout out to Jesse on Fire, because he's one of the few and only MMA content creators that's sort of covering this particular story right now, and guess what? I will as well.
Earned. He was such a major
That's why
contributing
they
factor
graded
to
his
the
gym.
man
That's
to be.
hey, that's right, Dave. Watch one of the videos that I had put up. It's one of my latest videos that I have out right now. So please check it out as we go on with this reaction right now.
Game that I don't know. Everybody dies, and I think he died with a full heart. You know what I mean? But anyway, I mean, we don't even need to watch this whole thing. I'm sure you guys have seen it. The bottom line is, okay.
Brandon Emily says, it's just me, bro. It's just me, bro. What exactly do you mean by that? Sorry for my writing, but most of the time when I type it, I switch into my native language. Yeah, no problem, Dave. Hey, shout out to everybody that's in Germany that's tapped in with me right now. I don't think there's a lot of U.S. media right now that's covering Khabib fleeing Russia. So like and subscribe as I'm giving you guys this full content of entertainment while also learning real time what is going on.
Hey, not only are they meeting here, they're on great terms, but you have this story as well, okay? Where this is, I confirm this 2 different places, right? Where it's Vladimir Putin gave Khabib Nurmagomedov $20 million in property after the Conor McGregor fight.
How about this? So Vladimir Putin gave Khabib $20 million in property after the Conor McGregor fight. Now, that right there is a little bit interesting right now. How does this relate to the story? We're going to find out.
So the biggest box office in UFC history was lucrative for Nurmagomedov in more ways than one, according to Dana White. So Dana White confirming that. Habib allegedly received a life-changing phone call from Russian President Vladimir Putin in the aftermath of 229.
By the way, shout out to Jesse on Fire for letting me react to his video, but in audio form, obviously, because it's less sketchier that way.
UFC President Dana White did...
Salam, I have to go. I will come back next time when you go. Hey, thank you, Dave. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, tell everybody in Germany to tap in. At least, you know, anybody that does understand English, or who knows, maybe one day I may learn German and do separate German MMA podcasts, right? But that's probably the advantage if you know multiple languages. Perhaps maybe you can do podcasts in all of them. But yeah, nonetheless, like and subscribe. Tell everybody to like and subscribe. And also come back later and watch from beginning to end, because you never know what you're going to get out of this content. And you never know where I'm going to go around the United States, around the world, while covering fights and giving you the best and most epic mixed martial arts content in the history of mankind. Let's go.
Detailed a call that took...
I will. Take care, you seem. I think there's a bit of a typo there, but it's all good. I understand what you mean. We all speak the same language when it comes to the same enthusiasm for the world of combat sports and combat athletics. So here we go.
Place immediately after Nurmagomedov's first UFC title defense against Conor McGregor. He didn't even make...
So this gift was given after the Conor McGregor win.
Make it back to his dressing room after the fight, and Putin was on the phone. White recently told Games with Names podcast. Putin gave him and his father like $20 million worth of property in Russia. Then he went into the Muslim territories where these guys are like cars, money, gyms, whatever he wanted. The alleged gifts from Putin went a long way to remedying $500,000. Nurmagomedov was fined that evening for jump defense. Nurmagomedov was penalized for leaping into the crowd post-fight and brawling with McGregor's teammate Dylan Dennis. It's so crazy that Dylan Dennis is in this story, man. It's like, I mean, he trolled his way into an international incident, dude. The chaos spilled over in the cage. Swept up.
Yeah, so shout out to Dylan Dennis for trolling his way into an international incident, according to Jesse.
McGregor, Nurmagomedov, so on and so forth. So, I mean, listen, dude. But this is also very important here, too, right? Like, this article sets the tone that Khabib is connected with some very powerful people, right? Because here you go. Also, Nurmagomedov is no stranger to rubbing shoulders with powerful people in Russia. He was once gifted a Mercedes by Putin's ally and Chechen dictator Ramzan Kadyrov.
Yeah, that's right. Ramzan Kadyrov also gave him a gift, which was a Mercedes-Benz after the Conor McGregor fight.
The majority of Nurmagomedov's training camps were also reported funded by Russian oligarchs.
And so, from what Jesse was saying earlier, was that what Khabib did with that $20 million worth of assets into property value, he flipped that and used it to build gyms within the Muslim territories of Russia, which is Dagestan and Chechnya. Now, I have a feeling that particular money has something to do with whatever it is that the Russians are investigating in terms of maybe terrorist funding transactions, perhaps.
oligarch Zadin, sorry, I can't pronounce that, Magomedov, what you can take away from this is that Khabib was connected all over the place in the highest places in Russia, right? Like the highest place in Russia. As we're going to look at later, though, this guy that they mentioned, this guy has an interesting history, though. I'm about to tell you about some interesting research about this guy, but some other research I did is I found out that 40% of you still have not subscribed to the channel. I would appreciate it very much if you would do that. It makes a huge difference for me. It's not a big deal for you, but like I said, very helpful to the channel, and I work really hard. I would appreciate it if you guys do that. And like the video, and then especially in this case,
so,
not just like
Jesse has some
interesting
information here.
Now, this
right
is really important right here because when you look into Magomedov and you keep in mind that he is cited all over the place.
Okay, so what Jesse is talking about right now is a Dagestani billionaire that, by the way, was funding Khabib in the early parts of his career. So let's keep in mind, okay? We're talking about Magomedov, right? He is a billionaire from Dagestan, who, by the way, was charged by the Russian government, and Khabib pleaded for this guy to have mercy. We're going to continue.
As an ally of Khabib all over the place. Like, all over the place. He was with Khabib, Abdulmanap, all of that. So this guy is...
He funded Khabib's career early on.
A big-time billionaire in Russia who had political favor with the Putin regime, so on and so forth, etc. If I got into the details of this entire story, it would take up the entire video. But what you need to understand is that he fell out of favor and he was arrested for corruption.
And not only that, he was also tortured and beaten and had all of his money taken away. And by the way, Conor McGregor has mentioned this during their press conference leading up to their fight.
Charges, some like somehow related to a super yacht that Vladimir Putin got, whatever. Bottom line is, this guy was doing what I would assume most Russian oligarchs are doing, but they prosecuted him for it. They seized $13 billion of his money and is now being distributed all over the place. He has been sentenced to 19 years in prison. Okay, he got.
So they took $13 billion from this guy. Put that in perspective. Magomedov, this gentleman that they're talking about, $13 billion, not million, $13 billion, arrested him and put him in jail.
Sentenced to an obscene amount of time, right? They appealed the conviction and the courts reduced it by 6 months. So it went from 19 years to 18 years, 6 months, all right? Now, the more that you read about this, I'm not saying the guy's innocent or guilty or whatever. I don't know anything about Russian politics. What I do know is that this has political prosecution all over it. That's like the entire story. It's about how, it's like, a group of powerful, like Putin insiders are, became enemies with this guy. And so they're putting him in jail, seizing all his assets, and they are, essentially like seizing his power, right? And this is a guy who had been with Khabib and Abdulmanap from the very beginning. And so as we get into the next parts of these stories, you got to go, let me just make sure I understand this. So this guy was one of the most powerful people in Russia, right? This was one of the most powerful people in Russia, and now he's sitting in prison, right? And he's someone who was a funder of the gym and funder of what they were doing. And now Khabib went from one of the most celebrated people in the country to now he's fled the country and has no intention of coming back, and they've seized all his assets, his bank accounts, all this. It's like, I don't know. It just seems like there's no way to know if that's what's behind this, but it seems like a very, very likely scenario as we'll get into it. But you also have the terrorist attack and all kinds of other stuff. All right, so this is just another article confirming that.
All right, so yeah, there's just a lot going on there, right? Obviously, there's a terrorist attack. Not only that, there's also Khabib being involved somewhat in a way where because the guy went to his gym, and so they tie that in, but also having this issue with taxes. But then you also add his buddy, who was the Dagestani billionaire. It's just a lot going on. And because of that, man, unfortunately, this is a reason why he had to flee, because he knew that it was a losing battle.
The $20 million in property, right? So then, a couple months ago, we had this thing happen. So May 21st, 2024 is when we first heard that Khabib had a tax problem, or at least that's how it was presented. Like Khabib has a tax problem, and they seized his companies. If you guys remember that, it was like he seized his companies because he owed, I believe, like $3.3 million in back taxes to the Russian government. And I remember when I saw that, the first thing I thought was like, I don't understand why would they come after a guy like Khabib? He's like a national treasure. Like that just seems so bizarre to me. I'm like, I wonder what happened.
Yeah, that is the big question that a lot of people are asking. Also, is that why would they allow this to happen to Khabib, being that he's a national treasure? Well, in the previous videos that I had made, I told you guys that I look at Khabib as, most Dagestanis, for that matter of fact, most Dagestanis in Russia are literally the black people of the United States in terms of discrimination, right? So this idea that, yes, he's a national treasure to Russia, so was Muhammad Ali. And you know what? I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you why this could be monumental for Khabib and his whole entire story. Okay, I'll tell you right now. I want you to put this in perspective, right? Before Khabib was going through all of this, one of the biggest criticisms, well, not criticisms, but comparisons to Muhammad Ali was that he never really did anything political, never stepped out of line, never really spoke out that was too radical or something that stood for something that would divide people. Non-controversial, kept it within the sport and kept it as I am a sportsman and this is my take on these matters, or I don't have a take on this matter because I am a sportsman, and kept it moving, and that was it. And that was one of the criticisms as to why you can't compare him to Muhammad Ali. Well, now, I sort of feel like we're now in a situation where we can potentially make Khabib a hero in ways that we would have never imagined a couple of years ago.
I wonder what happened. I literally didn't even have any theories. I mean, I'll tell you what my one theory certainly was not, right? Was definitely not that Khabib owes back taxes, and this is like just, oh yeah, Khabib tried to duck taxes. That's why it was going on. Like, there has to be more going on here because it's Russia, But obviously that was the first time that Conor weighed in, and then he got into it with Ali Abdelaziz. And I want to cover that part specifically because I got into a conversation with a couple guys recently about Conor, Ali, guys like these that I want to go over after I kind of go through this, right? So Conor said, I don't know, Conor, I can't.
So the next thing that Jesse is going to talk about, and by the way, this is fresh for me watching this, right? I sort of figured, you know what? Nobody else is doing this content in terms of Khabib fleeing Russia, and maybe it's a new thing, and maybe you'll see a lot more people go into it. But of course, Conor had to interject, and this is the most important part that I think Jesse is going to talk about, it, well, at least in terms of MMA, right? Conor McGregor having something to say about it. Of course he's going to have something to say about it. Any low-hanging fruit that you have of your ops, of your enemies, of your opposition, your rivals, or anything to that extent, you're always going to talk down about them in every kind of way in order to diminish whatever it is that they have going on. Now, obviously, the heated rivalry, the deep-seated hatred that comes with Conor McGregor and Khabib, I think only reflects whatever it is that Conor McGregor has to say. But under no circumstances, really, could you take Conor McGregor as an objective observationist or an observator, an observationist observator. You can't take him for an objective person of observation. You just can't, because they're enemies and they're always going to talk down about each other, and that's what it is.
I don't remember exactly what Conor said. Something, Conor bloated about Khabib's tax situation, and Ali responded.
You think Alex Pereira could beat John Jones or Tom Aspinall? By the way, that's going to be the next video that I'm going to drop tomorrow. I'm going to talk about John Jones and, once again, putting Tom Aspinall out of the loop. But for now, we're going to talk about the geopolitical side of mixed martial arts. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about the kicks and punches of all of that, because I want to save the kicks and punches portion of the MMA analytics into that. But for now,
you keep talking about Khabib. You forgot what happened to you and your team. Be careful what you wish for, because none of you guys are safe if you keep talking. So between this comment and one related to Conor in one of these cases he's dealing with, I've had like multiple conversations with people about this where I don't understand why people discount this kind of thing when it comes to Ali or it comes to like Conor, right? Like, these guys are serious guys, Like, I'll tell you exactly what I was talking about. Who I was talking to about when it came to Conor. I was talking about Red Pill. Red Pill. Go check out his YouTube channel. When he was doing the story about Conor and the cases and all that stuff, and he's like, I don't know, man. Like, do you think that I should be worried? I'm like, yes, 100% you should be worried. Like, you live in Ireland. I could do a video about Conor, not really have to worry about it. You live in Ireland, dude.
Yeah, so this is a good point that Jesse is making right now. Off topic, something that is a little on the sidelines. I did make a video about it with Conor McGregor and his ties to the Irish mob, which, by the way, me saying that's not snitching, that's literally public information, and I go into it in that particular video. Go check it out. But what Jesse is talking about here is that how dangerous Conor is if you do live in Ireland based on the connections that he has going on in that part of the world. Now, has Khabib ever gone to Ireland? I don't think he has, and I think there's a good reason for that, and I think he understands, and I think that he's tapped in to understanding street culture from around the world and the politics of what is what in certain places. I think he understands that there is a reason why you rarely, or if any time, you've ever seen Khabib in Ireland, because Conor McGregor is a very well-connected man in that part of the world. But you know what? Khabib is also very well-connected in his part of the world. Or at least was. But here's what I think. I think he still is to a certain degree.
You understand who Conor's with? Like, you understand who his crew is? Who his friends are? You just did a story about this. He's dialed in with literally the top international crime syndicate in Ireland. One of the
And so a lot of people will always ask, well, why is it that somebody like Chris Brown joined the Bloods? And why is it that somebody like Conor McGregor joined the Irish mob? And by the way, you know who else is in a gang? Shia LaBeouf, yes, the dude from Transformers, is in a Sureño Mexican Southsider gang in LA, right? But here's something you got to understand with that, right? In the gang culture, in the gang world, here's something you got to understand. It's like a relationship, right? Only those people in that relationship understand why they are compatible with each other. So if you look at a guy like Tekashi 6ix9ine or anybody that is in less successful cases of that or more successful cases of that, somebody like Tupac, who was never really tapped into the LA gang culture to begin with, why would anybody who's this famous want to be a part of that? Well, the answer is every man, I swear to you, wants to be dangerous in some kind of way. And some go about it in a different way. Some men want to be dangerous in a way where they lift weights all day and they think that's going to help them. Some men go out and learn martial arts. That does help. Some men go out and join gangs, and that does help in terms of strength in numbers and things of that nature. And then some men want all of that. Also, including the military. You could also become a dangerous man joining the military and learning skills there. But that is the reality of it. Most men want to be dangerous. So if you have this notion of, well, why is Chris Brown or Conor McGregor or Shia LaBeouf, all these guys have already made it or have money, why would they want to join a gang or be part of a mafia? Well, this is why. Every man wants to be dangerous. It's just that it depends on who you are, what kind of environment you grew up in, and what type of role models you have. That sort of dictates what type of dangerous it is that you want. Or just an alpha male, period.
The top guy, the Canadian guy, is one of the most powerful gangsters in the world. These are his boys. These are his people. And we're talking about witnesses who got their houses firebombed or had this woman, someone broke into her house and stabbed her husband, whether that had anything to do with Conor or not.
Yeah, so it is quite significant to understand that a witness, somebody that is supposedly going to testify against Conor McGregor, had her house broken into, and not only that, had her husband stabbed. I don't know what to say. I mean, there's no evidence of it. That's the only thing that you can say, but
he has his new.
I do think says if Alex Pereira wins, John Jones, Tom Aspinall, and Derek Lewis were trapped in a room, who do you think comes out the winner? John Jones, I would think. No, maybe Tom Aspinall, because he seems to be the favorite right now. But yeah, I would say Tom Aspinall.
New restaurant firebombed. Dude, Conor can touch you. Conor will touch guys. I mean, just bottom line. You look at him, most people see celebrity and they're like, oh, dude, it's all talk. No, it's not.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest misconceptions a lot of people have when it comes to, let's say, somebody that is, a real gangster, but also has this persona in the world of entertainment or sports. They also do that with Ja Morant also in the NBA, if you guys are very familiar with that as well.
No, it's not. If you think just because you know who a person is, that means they don't have resources where they're way more dangerous than you give them credit for, you're out of your mind. You're just wrong. I heard a story about Andrew Tate sending 2 cars full of people to somebody who was yapping, and a bunch of Eastern Europeans showed up at the guy's place.
So that's not unusual. Here's the thing, right? If you're tapped into the street and gang culture and you can use it to your advantage, why would you not? right? Like, who among you would not love to have the idea of, hey, you mess with me, I can come do something to you? This is the reason why we have dictators, kings, and corrupt presidents in the world.
And he's like,
and it just so happens that some people are able to exercise that power through the streets and within those connections of that particular stratosphere.
you know what I mean? Like Andrew Tate's, I mean, I guess that shouldn't shock anyone. But Ali Abdelaziz, you think Ali's friends with Hamza Gadirov? It's not like, we're not talking about like two actors.
Yeah, Ali Abdelaziz is also a dude that is not to be messed with, right? Put it this way, Conor McGregor, Ali Abdelaziz, they're both not to be messed with, but they both just happen to be each other's ops at the current moment of time. And it is what it is.
Actors in Hollywood. These guys have fucking resources. They're just like, I just bring it up because like when people think about this stuff and you read it, it's like if you're interested in this stuff, you should at least understand what you're looking at. You think Ali can't touch you? I mean, I don't think he would necessarily like.
Yeah, I think Ali could definitely touch a lot. Let me tell you something. Ali Abdelaziz is one of the most dangerous men in MMA, right? And let me tell you a story about when he had TMZ and the whole Dominance fighters in the studio. They asked the Dominance fighters, hey, who in here would win in a no-rules fight where weapons would be allowed? And they said it was Ali Abdelaziz. Put that in perspective. You had some of the most violent, most technical, most dangerous fighters in that room within the camp of Team Dominance with Ali Abdelaziz. Justin Gaethje, the names go on. Kamaru Usman, all those guys being asked by TMZ, who is the most dangerous guy in a no rules where weapons are allowed match? They said Ali Abdelaziz. That kind of tells you that Ali Abdelaziz, he's got his own gangster going on, man.
One of us or anything, or any, like, obviously. But you think Ali can't get to you? You think Conor can't get to you? You think that any of these guys, this is gangster shit. This is like international gangster shit we're talking about. Anyway, moving on. So this...
Yeah, well said. That's exactly what it is. It is international gangster shit for sure.
Anyone with $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans may qualify for help from National Debt Relief.
This is a story that I saw, like, today, because I was just looking at the story and I found this. It's like, oh, so Khabib has, because I saw this thing that said Khabib has no intention of coming back to Russia. And I was like, whoa, he's like on the run. So I found that this happened right after the taxes. This is also, this is May 21st of this year. And, Khabib escaped Russia after owing $3 million in taxes. And so Khabib Nurmagomedov obtained a United Arab Emirates citizenship according to Russian journalists. And he has no intention of coming back. So according to multiple reports from Russian journalists, Khabib, keep in mind this is all before the terrorist.
Okay, so Khabib is a UAE citizen, which means he has no intention of going back to Russia. Just keep that in mind right now.
Attacks happening in Dagestan. This is all before all of that, and then his gym gets raided. It's actually insane that all this is going on. So according to multiple reports from Russian journalists, Khabib Nurmagomedov has obtained UAE citizenship likely for tax purposes. The reports state that Khabib is facing allegations from the Russian Federal Tax Service.
Okay. So now I'm picking up a whole lot more of what's going on right now. So here it goes. This is what's going on. Khabib obtained a UAE citizenship, right, which allowed him to get certain tax write-offs or relief and things of that nature. I think this is what was problematic for the Russian government. On top of that, a terrorist attack happened that sort of came out of his gym, supposedly, because there was a person that trained there that was part of the attacks, although non-related to a lot of degrees. Still, this is the reason why. It's an accumulation of things. So, because as I've told you, the Russian government does not operate under a due process system. They act out of emotions. So in other words, they have this piled up and then they have this piled up. Oh, you're friends with this guy. We're going to take that as one whole case rather than as a separate case for each individual reasoning behind it. And that is what is going on. What is happening is that an accumulation of things that the Russians just want to pile into one single particular theory as to a black and white issue of, well, is Khabib a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he with us or is he against us? They want something just like that with really no in-betweens or any type of nuances.
of owing over 300 million rubles, which is 3.3 million, due to discrepancies in his business expenses. This led to a comprehensive audit of numerous ventures, including the freezing of accounts of some of his companies like Eagle FC.
Dinkelstein says, who do you think is winning between Aspinall and Blades and why? Okay, so I'm going to answer this real quick and then we'll get back to the topic at hand, right? I'm going to have to say that Tom Aspinall is going to win by split decision. I think that he's going to really take him to the max when it comes to the wrestling, but I think Tom Aspinall is going to have a lot of good off-the-back scrambles, and not only that, also his own wrestling offense that is going to challenge Curtis Blades. I could see this being really a 5-round decision for Tom Aspinall. But why Tom Aspinall? I think he's going to get the better of the boxing exchanges. So this is going to be high-level heavyweight fighting at its best. So now back to the Khabib story.
Amid these tax controversies in Russia, Russian journalists claim that Khabib has acquired UAE citizenship. The UAE is known to grant citizenship.
So keep in mind that the UAE citizenship is very significant in this matter because this is one of the main reasons why the Russians are sort of going after Khabib. It's because of this particular issue that is going on with his citizenship as a UAE citizen while also being allowed certain tax reliefs. Do you think the U.S. should have an open border or a closed border? Well, that's not up to me. I do things to answer your question because obviously they're going to have their own decision-making process as to why they're going to do one thing over the other. I would think that if you run a nation, you would want borders, right? For whatever reasons you want. Obviously, there's health issues that are also involved. You don't know what type of diseases that may be coming from one border to the other. And even on the other side, that's something that they should do. 9090 says he's going to KO or sub Blades in the first round. Almeida, what was this? Almeida was ragdolling Blades and was very easily getting caught. Yes. So 9090, to answer your question on that, right? The reason why I think that the fight is going to go the way that it does, I think you have to take into consideration they're going to be fighting at 5 a.m. in the morning, right, as the co-main event because obviously Bilal and Leon are the headliner. I think that's going to play a factor in some kind of degree. I don't know how long they're really going to have to adjust to that. Curtis Blades is training in America right now, and Tom Aspinall isn't doing any different types of training other than obviously just training in the morning time. Curtis Blades is a tough out, but he's going to have sleeping pattern issues going into this fight in Manchester. And that is the reason why I gave the prediction exactly as how I said it would be. The scramble exchanges, Tom outboxing him, but also Curtis giving a good account of himself. But at the same time, I think it's going to go to the scorecards regardless. So back to the Khabib story.
To individuals with exceptional talents, which would apply to Khabib's martial arts prowess.
Okay, so they're talking about reasons of how you can obtain UAE citizenship. One of them is having exceptional talents. Khabib, obviously, is one of them. And guess what? If you grant citizenships to people like that, it makes your nation look good. It's the same thing with America, right? What they've been doing for years. They bring in the best people in the world. You got doctors from Asia, engineers coming over here, and that's just what America does. That's just what any nation does when they want to strive for excellency. And UAE and America are no different in that aspect.
Success in MMA, obviously. This allows Khabib to avoid paying taxes in Russia as residents.
So there you go, right here. This right here is the reason why we have this problem in the first place. It avoids him from paying taxes in Russia. And you got to understand, Russia right now has serious budget issues with their military. Even though they are winning, there is no winning in war because of the expenditure that you have to put out based on the economic expenses that come with war. And then you got this guy who can be a major contributor to your nation based on his outside businesses. Instead of using his businesses under Russian names and under Russian LLCs, he goes and does it with the UAE or with the Americans, and guess what? It becomes a problem for Russia's economy. So there you go.
Some of the UAE.
The main reason and the main thesis is because guess what? They can't profit off of Khabib anymore.
Do not pay income tax. Man, what's up, dude? Hey, you want to know who else is talented, dog? Me. Anyway, I can just move to Puerto Rico, though. This move is seen as a significant shift for the former UFC champion and is likely motivated by the tax issue, whatever. But Khabib's team has denied allegations of tax debt to reports from Russia's yada, yada, yada. So, whatever. This is mostly about the taxes. But in the story now, where they seize his assets, they're like, he's not coming back. Okay, so this is where the things got really serious recently.
Okay, so now the next subject we're going to get to, obviously, is one of the hottest subjects that is going on right now. Obviously, it's in my catalog in the video section where I talk about the terrorist attack that had happened in Dagestan and the difference between the American FBI and the FSB and how they're going to investigate and the due process versus going off of emotions. So here we go.
Right. So while I was in Mexico, the story about the terrorist attacks happened. And actually, I'm going to show you guys a video that covers this. Right. And it also covers some stuff about even that's what it's about. So we'll look at that too. But as you guys know, there was a bunch of terrorists who went and shot a bunch of synagogues and churches. Very gnarly attack. We're going to go over it. You guys all know they burned them down. 22. It ended up being 22 people got killed altogether. A lot of them cops and then religious leaders in the buildings and so on and so forth.
Okay. So 22 people have passed away in this attack, by the way. And what's interesting is that it was not really mentioned in U.S. news or European news. Now, again, we have some Europeans in the chat from Germany, from people around the world tapped in. Let me know if you guys had any reports on this particular subject. And the reason why I don't think there's a lot of reports on this particular subject is due to the fact that it's Russia. And being that it's Russia and not the United States, and the United States having conflict with Russia, they're not going to report it. So it's something to think about.
Oh, one of the things that people are like, why hasn't Khabib, I'm sorry, pretty important detail. One of the gunmen had trained at Khabib's gym for some period of time. It's like Khabib condemned the attacks very clearly. I posted on Instagram about it. He didn't mince any words. He completely condemned the attacks. And he straight up completely distanced himself from the guy. He's like, dude, this guy has nothing to do with us. He trained with us for a couple months, like 5 years ago. But then they raided his gym, right? And so this is a video that was done that kind of covers a lot of the stuff related to the attacks and then also the gym being raided. So we're going to watch that and then we're going to move on to what happened today.
So you guys, we have some breaking news coming out of Dagestan, Russia, where Khabib's gym is currently being raided by Russian security forces. So I thought I'd make this video with some of the quick research that I did to keep you all informed and ahead of any of the bullshit that's probably going to spread all over social media today. So it looks like on Sunday, June 23rd, gunmen launched a coordinated attack on churches and synagogues across 2 cities in Dagestan, which is a predominantly Muslim republic in Russia's southern region. Since the attack on Sunday, it looks like 5 of the gunmen have been killed. Among them was Gazi Kagarov, who trained at Eagles MMA. A lot of you probably aren't familiar with him, but he was a 6-foot lightweight who was 2-0, and he last fought in 2021.
Yeah, so last...
Okay, so he was the guy that committed the attack. His name was Gazi Kagirov. Not Kadyrov, Kagirov. Okay, he was 6 feet tall, 155-pound fighter, so...
fought in 2021, which means highly likely that's the last time they saw him, right? Like, if he was training, why would he not be fighting?
But he hasn't been active. But according to TASS, at least 8 police officers were killed, with more than 27 others sustaining injuries. On June 25th,
and 8 police officers were killed in the process.
The Moscow Times published an article stating that at least 15 police officers and 5 civilians, including a priest, were killed in these coordinated attacks. But it wasn't until...
Yeah, and I talked about this in my live stream. The way they killed that priest is... I mean, not that you need more reason to hate, like people who would do a thing like that, but they slit that guy's throat. A priest who had been a priest in that church for 40 fucking years, dude. 40 years. Okay? Picture a 67-year-old man.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that absolutely is horrible, right? They slit an old man's throat. I mean, wow. Like...
spent the last 40 years as a religious leader. And that's how he went out. A bunch of fucking fanatics. Pin him down, hold him still, take away his ability to, take his arms away, and cut his throat. That's how he went out. And they bled him. So... if these guys think that, in whatever world they live in, whatever, in their mind, if I do this, I get to go to whatever place in the afterlife. I don't think so, dude. I don't think so. I think you've been misled. If you think that is what gets you there, no. I disagree with you. Slit a priest's throat. I don't think that's going to say anywhere good today, dude.
Yeah, obviously, there's no need to go out and say that you condemn this. It is what it is. It's a horrific act, and it's unfortunate.
28th, that the Russian security forces raided Eagles MMA and Makhachkala. Investigations are currently underway at the school because Gagarov was a member of Eagles MMA, and apparently security forces have identified 3 fighters from the school who had close contact with him. Now, of course, Conor McGregor had...
All right, so the report is that there were fighters who had close contact with him. So if that's why they raided, they're like, we're raiding to circle the wagons and see who knows who. I mean, I guess that's understandable, right? There have not been any conversations that connect Khabib personally to this or any of these guys. Now, this guy's going to talk about something in a second about... I actually alluded to this.
Okay, so you know what? The way that they're painting this, right, from what it seems is that is there a raid or is there an interview? Because there's a difference. Now, if they decided that they wanted to use the tactical forces in order to just do an interview to find out who is who and who knows what, well, again, that's just how they do it in different parts of the world. But obviously, the way that they have due process and everything in the United States, they go by the book. I don't think it's going to be that easy to bring out a tactical unit just to do an interview to ask somebody if they know such and such.
A little bit in one of my videos, this guy did this whole thing that was like meant to tie Islam Makhachev to extremist stuff. But what he covers in here is doesn't do that at all. Like I looked at it, I'm like, this is, you remember, I'll tell you exactly what it's like. Remember when people like on 4chan convinced the world that the OK sign was white power? Like, they trolled everybody. They're like, hey, this means white power is the OK sign. That's one of the funniest trolls ever. Not actually, Pepe the Frog is the funniest one. The Pepe the Frog means white supremacy. That's the funniest troll in the history of the world. But that's what this sounds like to me. You'll see it right in a second.
Had a lot to say on social media. As you all know, he's been consistently accusing Khabib, his manager Ali, and that camp of many wrongdoings for quite some time.
Okay, so now, yeah, here we go. Again, Conor McGregor, right? Conor McGregor writes on his... I think Conor McGregor is responding to somebody named Ozzy Kozak, says Russian security forces are raiding Khabib's martial arts school in Machkala in connection with the recent terrorist attacks. And Conor responds by saying, hashtag Conor was right.
But we'll save all that for another video. However, it is worth noting that according to an update shared on X by James Perazzo, the FSB has announced to Dagestani media that all Dagestani MMA gyms are being investigated and inspected for religious extremist elements. So expect this.
Okay, so from what it says here, according to James Perazzo, I believe he's some sort of MMA journalist, he says that the FSB has announced through Dagestani media that all Dagestani MMA gyms are being investigated and inspected for religious extremism. And again, this is why it's a little bit different in other countries, right? They don't just go out and target specific religious groups, although one can argue that the FBI has sort of done that in ways where they sort of plant like some sort of weird sting operations, using plants and but whatever.
Not to be a timid camp.
Okay, so given that, all right, so given that the FSB announced through the media that they are investigating all Dagestani MMA gyms, well, that exonerates Khabib from this thing right there, right? At the very least, maybe it doesn't exonerate him on its own, but it takes away any idea that like Khabib's gym is being raided because they had specific connection to the terrorist attacks. You know what I mean? Like, if they raided everyone, Khabib had his own one of the gyms. It doesn't mean that they're targeting his. We already know there was a guy trained there a long time ago, but Khabib immediately condemned the guy.
And I also want to make it very clear that Khabib has condemned these attacks and he clarified his associations with Kagarov. So they're not staying quiet about it and they're not going to let the narrative be written on their behalf. Now, I'm not too...
Yeah, like I said, I posted on Instagram about that.
So yeah, that is important, worth noting. Obviously, Khabib has obviously went out and condemned these attacks, right? And again, you can argue one way or the other, right? That, of course, he has to go out and say that he's a public figure, but let it be known in facts that that's what it is. Okay, so now here's the next thing they're going to talk about, the one finger that Islam Makhachev always does, right? Which, by the way, symbolizes what a lot of people, many is to say, is the ISIS gang sign or whatever. A lot of people sort of associate this as an ISIS gang sign. I'm going to tell you right now that this right here, you literally do this when you are doing your Islamic prayer, right? If you've ever seen anybody that's sort of kneeling on the ground in the kneel position during the prayer, they have their right hand like this, okay? So, like that. So this right here, and then this is also to symbolize the oneness of God. And I'll tell you a little story about that, right? It was at Eid where I had this Iraqi gentleman who got mad at me, by the way, for doing this in a photo. Because he said, it was like, well, okay, this is an ISIS gang symbol of some sort. I'm like, no, it's not. This is saying the oneness of God, and I believe in one God and only one God, right? I'm meaning that I'm not a pagan, that I only believe in one God. That's literally what it means. But that is the controversy that Jesse is going to talk about here.
That immediately and pointed that out. To some people, why can't Khabib condemn the attacks like he did? He literally did immediately, like firmly. There was no I don't know. He didn't mince any words, So this is what I'm talking about right here. Okay, so this I don't know who this James Perazzo guy is, but listen to this connection that he made. This is how he's connecting Islam Makhachev to extremist Muslim whatever.
Too sure who Perazzo is, but he has made some interesting tweets in the past with Islam, Khabib, and extremist groups. So we'll see what comes of all this. But all I know is
okay, so I'm sorry, he didn't even go over it. Let me rewind. This is what his conclusion is in this right here. Okay. It says the one finger in the air sign was brought back to life by ISIS in 2013, quickly spreading across the Sunni world. Okay, so this, all right, hey, we're number one. They're all, look at that.
Yeah, so Jesse is obviously mocking the whole thing, like, hey, we're number one. Look at that. Yeah, exactly. What all this is saying is that God, Allah is number one. That's all that it means.
Well, yeah, Islam supports ISIS. Well, I mean, you want to say that 100% of fighters tonight have held up one finger? Like,
and then Jesse is here saying, so now all of a sudden, because of that, the connection that you made with ISIS fighters doing this, that Islam Makhachev somehow supports them.
That's pretty standard procedure, okay? I don't know anything about Islam Makhachev other than that if that is your evidence.
But I think they're obviously reaching, right? It's a reach. That's what these media people do. That's what they do. They go out and do things for clicks. Hey, I do it too because I want your views. I want all of you to watch. And right now, I want you to like and subscribe as we are continuing on for another 10 minutes so I can run up 1 hour exactly on this one while we finish this up and take it home.
You better beef that up a little bit, dude. You know what I mean? And this is, all this says, undisputedly a longtime friend of the terrorists. How is that undisputed? Who said that? That's the opposite of what Khabib said. Islam is always going to be. Khabib said the exact opposite of that. So I don't know. And you know what I mean? It's like, okay, so I just want to make sure that I've captured your position on this. Look, dude, I don't live in that.
All right, let's slow this down so that you can understand what he's saying. I think he may be talking about some important points here.
I don't know anything. What I do know is when people present bullshit as like, oh, see, look. I'm like, that tells us nothing, dude. All you've done is hurt your own credibility. So what you've got is a dude who says this undisputedly, that he's a long-term friend of Islam Makhachev. And you're like, well, I know Islam Makhachev is with Khabib literally 100% of the time. And
so this is what I said also in the videos that I have. By the way, you could check out on the catalog section of my videos and live stream. I talk about how this guy that committed this terrorist attack, he barely was ever around Khabib. You don't see pictures of him, and not only that, you don't see them walking him out to any of his fights. So how close are they really?
Khabib said the exact opposite. Where are you getting your information? Okay, you don't have any sources on that. And then to assess that one, he's all, well, also, everybody knows ISIS throws up the one finger, and look at that. So did Islam. It's like, oh, weird. Hey, so did Michael Bisping. Look at Michael Bisping threw up one finger right there.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody throws up that one finger, but obviously a different context for different people. Obviously, that Iraqi gentleman at the mosque during the Eid pictures that we took didn't take a liking to me doing that because he associated with an ISIS gang sign, but whatever.
Is he supporting ISIS or no? I mean, look, Jesse's with ISIS, dude. So fucking dumb. Anyway, so now let's continue.
Field day. All of this, though, it did make me curious to research some more around Eagles MMA, and to be honest, I learned a lot. And a lot of that is thanks.
So now he's going to talk about The Scrap, by the way. It's the channel The Scrap that now we're reacting to. He's talking about all the things that he had learned about the Dagestani gym of Khabib and their supposed ties to extremism of some sort.
To Kareem Zidane of Sports Politico. Now, according to Kareem, Eagles MMA was founded by a jailed Dagestani oligarch named Ziavuddin Magomedov.
That's the guy
that we had mentioned earlier.
Talked about.
Magomedov supported several Dagestani fighters financially, including Khabib, at one point. But when he and his brother were arrested in one of the highest profile Russian embezzlement prosecutions in 2018, that marked the first time that Eagles MMA was involved in criminal.
First of all, look at this dude.
So there it is. That was the first time that Khabib in his whole entire life has ever experienced being on radar, just being part of this Magomedov guy's circle.
This guy must have been such a boss when he was on top. Look at him. He's like 6'4", young, good-looking, built.
They're showing a picture of Magomedov with Khabib. And as Jesse is describing him right now.
Billionaire in Russia. This guy probably slayed so much ass, dude. Just saying.
Profile Russian embezzlement prosecutions in 2018. That marked the first time that Eagles MMA was involved in criminal activity. Unfortunately, though, that wouldn't be the last. Another took place in 2018, which we won't get into right now. But according to this article, it looks like many Dagestani athletes are falling under the influence of extremists in training camps when they go pray. The article even brought light to some alleged concerning choices Khabib has made in the past, including when he was seen shaking hands with an Olympic gold medalist in freestyle wrestling who was accused of financing terrorism and a suspect in several murder cases.
Whoa. Okay, so that right there is different, right? That's something I didn't know. So let me get this straight. A Russian Olympic gold medal wrestler is accused of funding terrorism. I've never heard that before, but that is interesting to take a look at.
Okay, again. I don't have any idea what anybody's doing. What I do know is when someone throws something ridiculous out, and then, like, you know, oh, that is pretty concerning. You're all, wait, what happened? Like, he shook hands with the guy who was financing terrorism. You're all, oh, yeah, so who was the guy? You're all, he was an Olympic freestyle wrestler. You're all, he's an Olympic freestyle wrestler. Yeah, and he shook his hand, took a picture.
Yeah, so shaking hands with an Olympic freestyle wrestler is not really out of the realm if you're an MMA fighter. And they're somehow making that into something else.
I mean, do you think that maybe he shook his hand because he's an Olympic wrestler that he had maybe trained with, or do you think it was the other thing? Like, I don't know, man.
Why do I bring this up? Well, I think context is important, especially living in a world where things go viral so fast and people are quick to believe.
So there it is. Context is important, right? Khabib lives in a dominated Muslim country. Okay, everybody is all Muslim. Everybody does MMA, boxing, wrestling, or some sort of combat sports. It's possible he's going to run across this guy. Chris says, salam alaikum. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullah barakatuh. Chris, thank you for tapping in as we are reacting to Khabib fleeing Russia right now.
Things with little to no proof or research. While I'm not going to be jumping on a bandwagon of people trying to accuse wrongdoing and terrorist attacks to Khabib specifically, there is a previous history from the gym, so I'm sure more is going to come to light in the coming days. So you know we're going to keep you posted. In the meantime, do your own research and stay tuned. To be honest, I'm most worried about how...
Yeah, okay, so that was it. Guy did a good job. He did good research, and that's why I wanted to show you that. Now, again, I don't have any idea, like, what anybody's doing. So, like, I have no idea. All I'm saying is that the specific things that are cited as evidence of one conclusion are not that. You know what I mean? They're just not. I mean, what I will say is, like, if you are going to go into a foreign country that has a very heavy conservative Muslim population, and you're going into a place that has a population of young...
And this is exactly what I had just mentioned right now. If everybody is the same, and everybody is sort of in that same Islamic mindset trajectory, I mean, you are going to run across a few people that are a bit of a fringe. It says, hey, buddy, huge MMA fan. Thanks for covering this. I'm not sure what's going on. I hope he's okay. I think he'll be okay. What I'll tell you is not okay is if he was to stay in Russia. And by the way, I'm going to end it with the Jesse on Fire reaction right now. I'm going to take these last 3 minutes and explain exactly where Khabib needs to go, or if he hasn't been already, right? So, what I was trying to answer with that last chat right there with Isaac, I think it would not be okay if he was to stay in Russia. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. Because obviously, the way that Russia operates is that they operate under the good old boys club. Okay, you got to get in good with these guys. You got to be friends with this guy. And everything is all in good when you are, and Khabib somehow managed to become part of that oligarch class, or at least have connections in that part of Russia, in the upper echelons of their elite society. But there's also conflict once you get up there. In other words, people are going to try to topple you. People are going to try to set you up. There's a lot of power play that comes into being part of that oligarch class. And that is the unfortunate part about living in that part of the world, living in Russia. Also, I think it's better that he stays in the UAE. I think it's even better that he has access coming to America, training out here in Northern California. But I also think that he's going to have a lot of problems with his family who are still in Russia and how they're going to be targeted. I can't imagine, with the huge family that he has, he can mobilize them within an expedited time to bring them in different countries such as the UAE, United States, or Europe, or wherever else Khabib and his family can be welcomed through the right diplomacy or the right asylum of some sort. So, unfortunately, that is all that we have for this particular live stream right now. I'm going to take 1 more minute to remind you guys to like and subscribe. Please support the channel so that we can help make this channel become the most epic mixed martial arts channel in the history of mankind, with covering all types of different topics that most people would be scared to talk about, but also sharing you some of my experiences from around the world and around the streets, around the politics of different parts of the world, while also giving MMA a different flavor in the YouTube space. That is all that I have right now. And for the last chat, what did he say here? Thank you so much for your time of explaining this. No, thank you. The pleasure is all mine. I hope you guys like and subscribe and check out all of my catalog from beginning to end. Live streams, check all of them out. And as I'm signing off for this one right now, watch this from the beginning to the end for all the facts and all the details regarding this news story. Inshallah.